Journaling has been around a very long time, practically as long as we've had writing. Lots of people have kept different things like records of their families, different diaries of their day to day, and often those can kind of help us with history. Now, on social media, it has become rather popular to have themed journals, or just journals in general. Some people keep a journal for venting, for memories, and just being creative. Others just do it to have one. Today, I want to explore journaling and why someone might journal, and in particularly, why I do it. Online, there are lots of different journal types. Some are junk journals, planners, and commonplace journals. If you're not familiar with them, you might be a little curious what things like a junk journal or a commonplace journal are. Junk journals are often ones that you use scraps in. Some people do journal spreads based on memories or trips, while others focus on just being creative. This reminds me of scrapbooking at times. They're kind of similar concepts. Commonplace journals, on the other hand, are very different. They are curated. They are like field notes or just things you don't want to forget. Often they might have things like recipes or facts that you've learned or other various information that you don't want to forget. So you compile it all into this one notebook, and you often will title the sections, you'll date them, etc. And it's good to have to just look back on. You could find a lot of inspiration for journals online from TikTok or Pinterest or wherever else. A lot of these posts, especially on TikTok, like to have an ad with them. Like they're selling the stickers or this pen. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't personally believe you need to go out of your way to buy a bunch of stuff for journaling. All you really need to start is a notebook and a pen or a pencil. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't buy anything to start your journal. There's no harm in buying things for journaling as long as you feel like you are actually going to use them. Oftentimes, people will buy a bunch of stuff for a hobby they like before truly trying it out, so then they're just left with a bunch of stuff they no longer use. It's important to be conscious of things that you're buying because you don't want to end up with all that stuff that just goes to waste. I personally just buy things every now and then for journaling as I kind of need them or find them. I don't outright go hunting down everything, like a bunch of stickers or anything like that. There are two things when it comes to journaling that I like using a lot personally. I have a certain notebook brand that I have found I really like for my journals, two of my current journals being that brand. And I also like a very certain type of marker for the detailing in my journal for when I do those more extravagant journal sections, like maybe my monthly planner or something just for fun. Other than that, I have kind of collected a bunch of different things over the years for journaling, such as markers, colored pencils, pens, whatever. And I try to use them up before I get more things because overall it keeps a general flow. I think it is important to pick things that you like and that you will use. Now, why do I enjoy journaling? I find oftentimes it can help me work through various things and overall to remember information. I've always really loved writing, and currently I have a few main journals. The first one I started more recently in the last 2 years is a junk journal. Though it used to be just for various things, it got difficult to use regularly because certain pages made it so bulky to use. But it does have some of my favorites in there, like journal spreads I did for my D&D characters, ones I did for fun, various different things. My other two journals I use a lot more than my junk journal, and those are my everything journal and my planning one. The pink one is my multi-purpose one that I use for most things, but I've been making sure it doesn't get too bulky, like my junk journal. Usually I do my monthly calendar and eventing and just for fun pages that I want to do. I like using the journal a lot. It gives me a space to sit down and just write when I need to, or to do fun little journal spreads that aren't necessarily going to be a very bulky thing. The other journal is very strictly for planning. I have lists of things like my video ideas, I plan out videos, I plan out other projects. I find that having this space to just switch gears and be like, okay, this is now my planning time, this is what I'm going to plan, has been really helpful. I also usually will write in pencil instead of pen or marker. It just helps in a sense. And yeah, I could have done all of this planning in my pink journal. You know, like I do my monthly calendar, I do other things like tracking different goals or whatever, but that feels so different, and I have this want to keep my pink journal more perfected in a sense. The other journal, I can just write whatever, I can, just make a million mistakes, and it's fine. Another journal I have been thinking of starting is a commonplace journal, which I have, at the time of recording, started finally. It's going to be a lot of fun, I hope. My goal is to remember things more often and easier because I've learned so much and I can be oftentimes forgetful. The commonplace journal will give me a place to put different things like recipes I've learned, different fun facts I've learned, everything like that. And it's going to be helpful, I think. In the future, I will do a little update video to go over how it's been. There is another journal that I think could be a lot of fun, and I've seen a lot of recently, and it's keeping a journal that's for like your character. Like, let's say you have one character that you love dearly and you've been writing a story or you're just really attached to them. I think it could be a lot of fun to make a character journal that's like from their point of view. So I might look into that in the future. No promises though. We didn't cover every single little detail about journaling today. I kind of wanted this to be a more brief video to just go over the various things and maybe give you some inspiration for journaling. There's a lot of different reasons to keep a journal, and you might actually find that you really love journaling, but you won't know until you try it. And that can be applied to a lot of things in life. You don't know if you'll like reading until you give it a try. You don't know if you'll like that random craft you've been thinking about till you give it a try. It never hurts to try. And if it's not something you don't find interest in, you can at least say that you tried. Thank you for watching, and I hope maybe you'll go try a new hobby soon.